Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this demonstration of how a basic block can be changed into a kimono style. I started my project off by creating a mood board and researching kimonos and putting together styles that I found displayed the modern up-to-date kimonos, which are very vibrant in color and texture. Interesting fabrics and graphics display overall, just like they were back in the time when the kimonos were first worn. Kimono has been transformed into streetwear in some cases, and in Tokyo it's considered the avant-garde fashion by urban artistic culture. What we can see through the highly graphic textures of the kimono, as in the traditional and modern kimono fabrics, we find on the runways and seen on the streets of Tokyo, Japan, and even in today's American and European culture. The kimono has crossed over into many forms of fashion. Uncovering the influence in fashion of today, the different types of kimonos, like the lingerie robe kimono, the stylized dress kimono, coat kimonos, and even the traditional kimonos most of all, we see how this style of dress has a big impact across all fashion genre. Today's modern culture has embraced the kimono, incorporating its very simple construction, simple as far as pattern pieces or cut of the kimono. It's clearly very square and very linear, and it's a concealing garment, basically to cover the wearer's shape. This was its original intention. There are many pieces to the kimono of traditional times, but for the modern day kimono, there are really only 7 key pieces that make a kimono style a kimono. Mainly the sleeves, the collar, and the square shape on the body. So let's begin drafting our patterns. So I'm downloading my trusted Alvanon European size 38 for our demonstration, and this was given to us by Alvanon for this event, so I hope you got it, got a chance to use the 3D. And we're going to talk about the basic robe kimono. So let's look at our basic block. This is the block I made for the EU38 avatar. So right now I'm just going through the pattern, and I'm going to start by extending this front bodice just so that I can get the length that I desire. I'm going to go ahead and drop the armhole and get ready for that wide sleeve. We're making a basic robe style, so that's going to be part of a crossover cover-up garment. But I'm going to get rid of some of these darts and in the shaping of the block, because as you remember, the kimono is a very straight garment. I will get rid of these sleeves, and we're going to get the traditional look of the kimono sleeve as well. I should say the traditional kimono sleeve or the modern kimono sleeve, which is pretty much like a square block. So next I'm going to build this asymmetrical portion, and the asymmetrical front is going to mimic the common crossover style of the kimono, which is usually crossed over on top, left to right, or right to left. So this is a modern take on the kimono wrap function. I did not add ties, so I wanted to focus on the pattern shape, so I just opted to have it attached at the inside as your typical modern wrap dress. And I'm going to keep the upper darts for shaping at the armhole, just to give it a little bit more shape in the bust and in the shoulder. The shaping this area will make it less of a drop shoulder. We're going to bring it into the modern era by not offering the drop shoulder. It's basically going to be an A-line and slightly nipped at the waist. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the sleeves, which is pretty much a sleeve that you would see for a lingerie robe if you were going to buy a kimono robe at retail, or even find in your hotel closet. These robes often have the kimono style. Just as you know, the sleeve is square, they're sewn together, and you have the wrap front, and then you have the banded collar with the big wide sleeves. This is the modern look of the kimono, which most people know of and see in retail. They use it for uniforms, robes, etc. If you were to research wrap kimono, you'll find that there are jackets, coats, dresses, and you'll find many types of garments, like I said, uniforms, other types of clothing that have this same specific style. It's just the bigger sleeve, and it's a wrap front, and then you add the wide collar. And after that, we are going to go ahead and move into the next garment. So just make sure as you're adding this collar, just make sure that your layers are correct in Browzwear, and make sure that as we're simulating that you have the correct layer that you want to wrap over, whether it's left to right or right to left. And that should be the highest numerical value of your layers, so that it wraps completely without any collision. Okay, and the collar part is actually called the earring for the kimono, and that's one of the many parts of the I think it's eerie or airy, I might be saying it wrong. And that's a traditional collar. So this is the piece that I just made, and we're sewing that all together, and we're going to come back and color it, and this is your basic robe kimono. The next garment we're making out of our block is a kimono sleeve with a gusset. So it is a one-piece sleeve and bodice that has a gusset under the arm to help with lifting when it's worn. It's a very sloped garment, so I am actually arranging my sleeve and bodice pattern and in an angle for the sleeve so that I can trace it at the center of the sleeve and connect it to the front of my body. I will remove some of the darts and just get a fitted bodice shape with all the darts closed with the kimono sleeve. I'm going to add some points so that I can know where my gusset is going to be. So this is referred to as a kimono sleeve in modern fashion, but I'm going to have to put a common gusset shape on it so that she's able to actually lift her arms a little higher. So I'm lifting her arms right now on the pattern, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a style lines. I'm going to replace my current pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on top of the skirt as a top. So let me just make adjustments to the back so that back looks like the front and the front looks like the back. And one important thing while making this type of a garment is to make sure that you lay out the pieces properly in your 3D area space. So I'm going to go ahead and move around these pattern pieces, and then I'm going to get rid of some of the pieces that I'm not using. And you can actually scale up the pattern pieces in your 3D area so that you have more room. And now I'm just going to add the gusset. It's a really simple gusset, but sometimes you may get a little bit tangled and your seams may get flipped, but it's a very small piece. So if you're just sewing this little tiny piece on, you'll be able to see very quickly where you have an error if you start to get your seams flipped, and you can go ahead and sew that on to the other side. And we're going to go ahead and redrape this, but what I want you to notice is how I drape this on the form. Once the gussets are added, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, delete some of these pieces that I'm not going to be using, and making sure that the display looks exactly like I want it. I could make modifications, but I'm going to keep it simple here. I'm not going to stylize shape the gusset. I'm going to go ahead and add a obi type of waistband to the skirt, and then we're going to complete our outfit, and we're going to come back again and recolor this one as well. So this is number 2. Thank you. This is the third style. It may be a little bit more complex as the details have a few more pieces to it, but it is still considered a standard kimono sleeve, which is just a continuous sleeve that is continued from the body. The seam is on, the out seam is on the actual shoulder line on the outside of the body. And right now I'm just going to place my sleeve. Again, I'm going to go ahead and trace these patterns to get quickly to what I want. I need to get basically close to having a princess line, and I'm going to use this princess panel here in the block. Once you've established your block, it's pretty easy to go ahead and get these pieces out and have them fit very closely to what your avatar measurement is. So I'm just blocking out the pieces that I think are suitable for this style. Something that you want to learn in fashion. So this is kind of a 101 for advanced fashion pattern making. This style was commonly used with a peplum and something that's called the Christian Dior blouse. It's like a kimono blouse with a little peplum, and Christian Dior did a few looks like that in the 40s, I believe. So I'm going to actually make sure that my front and back panel is not linked. As you can see from my movements, they are linked right now. I didn't realize it at the time of recording, so bear with me. But I'm going to go ahead and make the peplum after this, and then I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that these line lengths are what I actually want for this garment, front and back. So my front panel is the one that's pretty much linked. But right now I'm going to slash and spread, and I just wanted you to see this little bit more complex garment, and just to let you know that there are opportunities with this type of kimono sleeve that you can get some really great fashionable ideas out. Once the peplum is created, we're going to smooth it out and just make sure all of our points are smooth, and pretty much sewing it and arranging it the garment. You're going to see when I put it in the Browzwear avatar that I did do a little bit more shaping. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and go through and just get a kind of estimate on some of the line lengths that I need to create the shape that I want. And like I said, smoothing out the actual peplum, and I'm not working on any grain lines. This is just to show you the possibilities that you can get out of your block patterns to create these basic kimono style. This type of garment is, like I said, is a typically advanced pattern making, often taught in universities, and it's also influenced other kimono-like styles like the dolman sleeve, the raglan sleeve, and also the batwing sleeve. Kind of all are derivatives of this actual type of kimono construction. So you can see that you can actually trace it back to this kimono style modification. In the 40s, in the 50s, and the 60s, designers became like really fascinated with this over the shoulder type of look. I will say that there were many opportunities for fitting this on the form, and I did it several times, so I'm not going to fuss with the pattern, but I will tell you that this is called the kimono sleeve. So now that we've finished all of that, we're going to go ahead and start our colorization process. These are just some examples of how designers of today are using this type of a paneled sleeve with the out seam on the shoulder. And here you have it, the 1940s pattern and the 50s patterns that all show this type of extended sleeve look with the princess and nipped waist. Now we are on to colors and textures. This might have been my favorite part of the project, just looking at all of the different variations for kimonos as far as color, even on my mood board, and testing out some of my Substance 3D fabrics. And some of the fabrics offered by Browzwear as well were really, really great inspirational fabrics. So I was able to come up with some really cute combinations for kimonos that we already draped in 3D. So now we're going to go ahead and dress this avatar. As we can see right now, I redraped this onto the the avatar for Browzwear, and you can see Lily, it's a little bit big, but I kind of like this. This look on her to be bigger, just a little bit looser, like an actual kimono. So these are some of the prints that I created with just the gold trim, kind of gives it that pop, and that's it. It's a really cute ensemble, and we can go ahead and just change the colors. This gives you the opportunity to really you know, let your imagination go when it comes to the world of kimonos of today. So we're going to move on to our next garment. We're going to save this out, and we'll render this out. You see some of the renders on my Instagram. But now we're going to go to that cute little peplum 1940s inspired single sleeve kimono with the princess line. And we're going to go ahead and pick some of the fabrics. And basically it is another way for you to just see the different silhouettes and see how they are affected by the different patterns. And basically it's to be creative. You know, this is a time where you have this block pattern. One of the great things about having blocks and building on top of blocks is that you know that it's always going to be very close to the fit representation that you want, no matter what your styling is. So now I'm just playing around with the Browzwear fabrics that Browzwear provided, and just looking at this, it looks like the graphic for some of the modern designs of today. That black and white graphic is very cute, so we're going to leave it in that, and we're going to save that, and we're going to move on to the next style. So the next style was the one with the obi waistband. Now this one I do kind of need to go ahead and just make it a little bit smaller for Lily because she's a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to cinch the waist a little bit more. The bigger kimono sleeve with the gusset, that sizing is meant to be oversized to look more like the kimono. So I'm going to go ahead, and now this gives me the opportunity to add some contrasting to the style, and with the obi type waistband I can do sort of a color blocking style or coordinating color blocks. We can go ahead and then pop in a nice satiny obi look. In order to get the best use of my time, I didn't want to give too many details as far as spending too much time on one specific garment, but as you can see, you can pretty much load these kimonos up with layers, with different fabrics, with different color blocking opportunities. It is a very versatile design type of garment that you're able to create many different variations. And as you can see, there are so many different ways to communicate the kimono style. So now this one is a bonus content. This to me is pretty much a true kimono sleeve, a little bit of a modified kimono sleeve, but it has the drop shoulder and it has the big band. The band only goes up to a certain length. It doesn't cover the full length, but this is typical of a beach cover-up. This is typical where you would actually use the sewn together kimono sleeve and create just a throw cover-up for the beach. And a lot of designers do this for their resort collections. A lot of designers in the retail markets use this type of cover-up style, and it does not go out of style. So this is something that you can definitely go ahead and work with as far as kimono styling. With Browzwear and the drop shoulder, sometimes you have to go ahead and just hold the back up in place so that you can go ahead and style your garment the way that you want. And then we'll go ahead and pick out some of the colors that we want. We'll get a pose, and we will go ahead and see what we can work with as far as stylizing this little cover-up style. And then we'll go ahead and color it up. This gives you the unique opportunity to explore different cultures, let different thought processes into your design process, and make it really a rich experience in your design flow. So let's go ahead and get some colors. I do pretty much make a color file for Browzwear. I make a Browzwear file that has all full of fabrics, and then I just kind of borrow from there. So that's what you see me doing if I didn't explain that. But I'm going to go ahead and just pull in some of the Browzwear fabrics that I modified. and the Browzwear fabrics that you see here are pretty much what I was able to do in Substance Designer, but it's still workable. It still pops like the fresh kimono styles that we see on the streets of Tokyo today. And right now I'm gonna go ahead and pick another one, which this one was really cute. Does remind me of Miami Beach, so I'll call this the Miami Beach kimono. Anyway, this is really great opportunity to explore different cultures and different fabrications and different looks through kimonos. So we'll just go to the next one in one sec. So here's a bonus kimono that I worked on, that kind of what I was just talking about as far as the layers and making sure that especially in Browzwear that you use the layer functionality correctly, because I have a collar that overlaps onto a dress with a three-piece obi with a jacket over long sleeves with a kimono sleeve that's flared out, and basically there are a lot of layers to be considered. So with the kimono, like I said, you can get a lot done as far as design and as far as prints and elements, but this is what it looks like, and these are some of the things that can happen when you have a lot of layers. So you do have to make sure when simulating that you do use layer management, and it can be really fun and really interesting to see where your imagination can take the kimono. So I'm excited to have worked on this project. I'm excited to be able to have made the inspirational fabrics for you guys, and this one is like a little bit of a new versus old type kimono denim style. And like I said, it was a pleasure. So I'm going to render these out. You'll see them on my Instagram, which is @thefashionindie. And the fabrics will be up on ArtStation very soon if you don't already have the link. And right now, I do want to say go ahead and be inspired. And thank you so much for watching. And that's it. Thank you. Since I'm ending a little bit early, if you have any questions, I'm sure there may be some time in the chat to answer your questions about styling the kimono, about some of the history, some of the styles. If you have any questions, I am here and you can ask away. Again, thank you to all of the sponsors, and thank you to IACDE for inviting me to the summit. It has been a pleasure. Thank you again.